Hello and welcome to the Behind the Blockchain podcast. My guest today is Ivan Pavičić, engineering manager at ShardSpace. Ivan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great, doing great. Glad to be here. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for joining me. Hopefully I pronounced your name properly then.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You did, of course.
Good stuff. Well, Ivan, for people who don't know who you are, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, sure. So my name is Ivan, as you already mentioned. I am an engineering manager. Company is called Space Shard. Before it was Shard Labs. Now it's sharded into a separate entity called Space Shard that is now working exclusively on Starknet, which is a layer 2 blockchain on top of Ethereum. And yeah, maybe later we can go more into details about all of those things. But yeah, basically we are a blockchain research and development company, and we are building various products, as I said, focused on Starknet. So yeah, that's maybe short intro.
Sounds cool. Could you take us back and talk us through your career journey so far?
Yeah, sure. So I'm basically whole my life living in a coastal city called Split, Croatia, where I finished uh, basically computer science college here, and after that, yeah, I started working as a software engineer, and yeah, it's been like 10 years now almost. So 10 years in total in the industry. Uh, Maybe around 7 years were in classic Web2 software development, where I went through basically the whole career progression from a junior, like maybe even intern, junior, let's say meteor engineer, senior, and at the end, team lead slash engineering manager. So for the last let's say 3 years, I've been more into management than let's say coding itself.
Okay. Do you
Uh,
miss it? Do you miss the coding?
uh, well, actually, to be honest, not that much in a production grade sense. So I don't know if that makes sense, but because like I enjoy little puzzles and doing it for fun. But once it grows into a product that users actually use, and then somebody potentially calls you at 2 a.m., then that's when the stress kicks in, and the fun stops. So yeah, I don't really miss that part, to be honest. Now I have like other let's say other things are making me more giving me more joy. Yeah,
Okay. Fair enough.
yeah.
Fair enough. Could you
um
um could you talk us through some of the skills that you've learned along the way and along your career that have really helped you to achieve that engineering manager position? Because I think a lot of
um
people listening and watching, maybe in the engineering space, and think, you know what, I'd love to become an engineering manager one
mhm.
day. It'd be really useful
Yeah,
to understand the skills that you've developed that have helped you get there.
yeah, sure. So um it's a bit of a different mindset, I would say. So I mean, I already talked about with some people who were interested maybe in going into that direction, and I always say the same thing. Like, when you're an individual contributor, you have a pretty quick feedback loop. When you do some task or you code some solution, you pretty quickly can see if that works or doesn't, and you get that dopamine rush, and you're happy. If you did everything great, then you're happy. You're pretty quickly happy. Maybe it's a matter of days or hours or whatever. But when you transition into management or team leadership, it takes a bit longer. Like some decisions that you take can take maybe months or maybe even years in maybe in terms of your some kind of CEO or something. Some results will be visible after a very longer period of time, and you need to be prepared for that. To get that dopamine rush that I mentioned already, it will take a little bit longer. So that's maybe the first thing to consider. So what are some skills? Well, I would say maybe definitely. while you are still individual contributor, try to take up, let's say, some project that you will oversee end to end, and maybe even mentor some colleagues. That's usually, maybe some progression, like mentoring and overseeing some smaller stuff on the project. And then you can see if it's something that you enjoy. Do you enjoy mentoring younger engineers? Do you enjoy, being vocal on some decisions? um, do you enjoy talking to people? Like that's very important. Like you need to have some interpersonal skills. Like uh, some engineers maybe don't have this, maybe come to them naturally. But if you have an inclination, maybe to, maybe you're more talkative person, you really have interest in other people, not only work related, but personal lives. You can talk about some problems that they have, try to help them. That those are I think all good qualities to have if you want to, go further into that, let's say, more management path. Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, and a lot of these things, they have a common denominator of, like, getting out of the comfort zone. So if you're used to coding and you have your own little task, and you don't bother with everything else, you don't see the bigger picture, then you should probably, step a little bit outside of that, maybe take a bigger, broader picture, couple of components inside of a system, try to take ownership, try to, be responsible for some stuff. Yeah, see how it goes. Basically, see how it goes. Do you enjoy it? At the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing. If you recognize that you enjoy that, then you will be successful down the road. If you don't, maybe after a certain period of, getting along with the new work, after you go through that period of, settling down, if you don't enjoy it, then I think it would be better to, maybe go back to what you were used to before, because it doesn't help anybody. It's not helping you, and it's not helping the people that later on you will maybe lead or be responsible for.
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
yeah, yeah, I think that's most of it.
Nice. Do you remember the first engineering manager job that you took? Was that a bit of a
uh
shock?
yeah, so I mean, actually, I kind of already did bits and pieces on college when we were doing some projects, student projects. We went to some, um back in the day, there was this Microsoft Imagine Cup competition, and I personally really wanted to compete and in that particular competition. And yeah, brought together a couple of friends, and we won the national, let's say, Imagine Cup competition. And then all the countries gather in one place. In our case, that was in Russia, St. Petersburg. Yeah, that was 2013, right? So 11 years ago. And it was a really cool experience. But that was like, that project lasted for almost a year that we were working on that. So that was like maybe the first step in that direction, like, where I was responsible for a lot of things, not only, related to coding. There was really a bunch of stuff to do. We needed to edit videos, make YouTube videos, presentations, doing the actual presentation, practicing, doing testing with users, trying to see if everything makes sense. Really a lot of stuff went into that, and it was really useful for me later on. But professionally, yeah, I was before I was working for 4 years in the betting industry, online betting, yeah, gaming, betting and gaming industry. And actually there I became a team lead after like 6 months of working.
Wow.
And yeah, and that, to be honest, was, I think, at that time it was a little bit too early. So I think, yeah, I was like 6 months doing that job, but I felt I wasn't ready. And I asked my boss, like, if it's possible, maybe for me to go back and to maybe take a bit more time as an individual contributor and learn more and gain more experience, and then later on, let's see if it makes sense to make that jump again. And actually that happened like some 2.5 years after that. Again, the opportunity knocked on the door, and then I accepted, and I was more ready than before. So I think it was a good decision. So yeah, that would maybe be an advice. Don't be afraid, jumping back and forth. There's no shame in that. And at the end, like it depends on you. If you're happy, if you're satisfied, if you feel comfortable, you will succeed. Doesn't matter if you're individual contributor or a lead.
Yeah, for sure. I had quite an interesting conversation on the podcast a couple of months back um, with someone called Bogdan, who is the co-founder, one of the co-founders of Unstoppable Domains.
Mhm.
Um, and Bogdan was explaining that he actually was made a CTO only a couple of years into his career. And he said actually it was such the wrong time for him to become, a CTO and kind of step into that leadership role because he had so much to learn that you learn at all the various different steps from a junior engineer, mid engineer, senior engineer, principal or lead, then team leader, and then manager, and this kind of thing. There's so many different things that you learn at each level. And he said, yeah, he got put into that role way too early. So it
Yeah, yeah,
sounds
yeah, yeah.
similar to what you were talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you take a look, maybe at some leaders like CEOs, and from that grow together with some startup. That's very rare that you have the same person, for example, like Mark Zuckerberg or somebody that's been there from the exact beginnings to all the way to the top. I don't know, multi-billion company. Very, very rare, I think. So it's usually like that means that person needed to grow together with the company. We needed to change his mindset a couple of times with the growth. It's not the same like having 5 people, 50 and 500 and 5,000. Completely
Yeah.
different thing. So yeah.
So
Um,
where is there anywhere that you went to learn that change in mindset? Is it something that just kind of happened naturally over time, or
yeah. So I mean, in my case, I think I always kind of had an eye on it. Thought that maybe it will come sooner rather than later. But I kind of I think you know the opportunity came. I said, okay, I'll try. I usually through my whole career, I very rarely said no to things, and maybe that's also a good advice, I guess. I think even Richard Branson or somebody has a similar, like, say yes and then figure it out later. So I think that's something that I did a lot. And uh, yeah, like after that, you struggle a bit, but I always learned uh, on the job and outside of the job. That's something also that maybe at some periods in your life when you have more time and less responsibility, you don't have maybe a family and stuff like that, you can invest more time in your self development. And that's what I did. In the evenings I would read books and watch, I don't know, Udemy courses. There's a lot of, especially today, you have millions of awesome materials to work on basically whatever you want. I mean, not only coding, like leadership. There's a bunch of courses on Udemy, on LinkedIn, on wherever. So yeah, that's also something that I did. And books, for example, of course, like awesome books and blogs, and you can follow on Twitter various people who enjoy writing on these topics. So yeah, I think that would be it. That would be it. And of course, if you're lucky, if you have a mentor in your company, that will boost you a lot. So yeah, that's also something. But if you unfortunately don't have such a person, then I think books and educational videos will be the second best resource to learn.
I think quite a few people struggle to find good mentors, really.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I think, our responsibility as maybe emerging leaders or current leaders to be that person. Since you've seen yourself maybe struggling and maybe trying to find somebody, okay, then you try to fill that gap, not only in the company but maybe with little kids, and people, in your life in general. Like try to maybe not to be a pain in the in the let's say, but try to set an example with what you do, how you do things, and maybe people will after some time they will see, okay, this guy is maybe doing some things right. I should maybe ask him, or try to learn some things. And of course, we all never stop learning. I think we'll learn for the rest of our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. I agree. I think having that growth mindset is key, especially when you're in an industry like Web3, right? I mean, everything's
Oh,
changing all the time.
oof.
So
Yeah, yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't have that mindset here, especially,
Oof. Yeah, especially.
that's
Yes.
that's tricky.
Yes,
Did
yes, yes.
did you always know that you wanted to be an engineering manager then? Like that was that your goal when
Um,
you started?
well, maybe not in the beginning itself. I really enjoyed coding and solving issues. As I said, I really at the beginning, it was like it was super fun. But maybe somewhere in the back, I thought it would go in that direction. I mean, it kind of always found me in the end, like playing sports. I was sometimes elected as a captain, or in the classroom you got elected as some kind of president or something. It kind of, it was like, I don't know, somehow it always found me in the end. So yeah, it's there, I guess. And when I thought I was ready, I jumped in full
Got to
time.
give it a
Yeah,
got to give it a try, right?
yeah. Sure,
As you
sure,
said.
sure. Yeah.
And do you have goals to go on further? Like, is the goal to be a CTO or the founder of your own project one day, or do you have that
Uh,
sort of goal in mind?
well, definitely. But I would say up to a point while it's fun. I guess I want to have, at least I personally want to have some kind of good balance. Between having quality work, fun, and I mean it cannot be always fun, of course, but if you do them, like plus and minus, it should always be more pluses than minuses when you draw the line at the end. So that's something that I would want to keep some kind of balance between those, and to see how far I can get, because I really personally don't believe in working, I don't know, some crazy 100-hour weeks and stuff like that. I think that's kind of a problematic mindset today. And yeah, that's something I wouldn't want. I mean, okay, for some periods of time you have crunch time, you need to release something. That's okay, but during extended periods of time, it will burn you out. It will burn everybody out. It's poor management. It's poor planning. Poor whatever. You need to do better before coming to this situation. So yeah, that's my that's my view on these things. And if I can get to higher levels with nice work life balance, then sure. But if not, I won't be sad. Yeah.
I think it exists somewhere, that work-life balance when you get up to that level. I think it depends on all sorts of stuff, right? The team you have around you, the projects, maybe what
Of
stage you're
course.
at as well. Obviously, if
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
joining
yeah.
really early stage startups,
Yeah,
you're probably going to
yeah.
have to work a lot and all this kind of stuff, right? But
Yeah, but
those
okay.
types of roles definitely exist.
But like early stage startups, what do? They say, okay, I will sacrifice, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years of my life. I will work like crazy, and then we'll see if we do an IPO or we sell the company. Everybody will, net a nice sum of money, and then after that we will see, we'll have fun. That, I think that's inside of everybody's mindset when they're starting into that, and that's completely fine. But I'm here like for the 10 year, I'm here in the industry for the last 10 years, and I went through a couple of these cycles, and now I'm a little bit different situation. You have like family, a couple of kids and all of that, and then like, do you really want to sacrifice not seeing your child I don't know, for 2 months? That's kind of that's kind of tricky. Everybody should ask. I mean, that's up to a person. I don't, I wouldn't tell anybody, listen to me. It's just that if you're okay with that, then it's okay with me. It's just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
yeah,
Fair
yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah.
So could you talk us through what a day in the life of an engineering manager at Space Yard looks like? So as I said, I
uh
think a lot of people would be thinking, you know what, I really want to get into to engineering leadership.
mhm,
And I speak to people all the day that maybe do similar things to as you described, where they think, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. They jump into it. Maybe it's not quite what they thought it would be. Maybe takes them too far away from the stuff they really enjoy and the tech and things, and then they go back to being an individual contributor and go down that very
mhm.
kind of technical path instead. I think it'd be really useful for people to understand what a day in the life of an engineering manager looks like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so just a disclaimer, like I think it all depends on the company. Some companies expect you to still have some kind of hands-on dedicated work, like I don't know, 20% of your time, 30%, some maybe even 50% of the time ask you to do still coding. So it really depends on the company. You should be like aware. It's a broad term, engineering manager. Some will need you just to handle people related stuff, and maybe high level technical things like architecture decisions regarding project management. It's a combination basically. uh, yeah, so that's something you need to clear up at the beginning, in your company or at the company that you're maybe applying to going to work. But in my personal case currently, my day in the life, it looks like, every morning we have a daily scrum. It's 9 a.m. And I personally try to put all meetings earlier in the morning so that engineers can have uninterrupted chunks of the day dedicated to focus and coding. Because as probably already maybe some guests mentioned, you know uh, all the time some interruptions and meetings is it takes away your focus, and then it's not a good idea to do. So yeah, that's one thing, trying to cram all those meetings as early as possible. So yeah, daily scrum. After that, we have some maybe follow-up calls, one-on-one calls. I usually do them once a month. If necessary, we do them more often, but yeah, usually one-on-one call with all of my colleagues, where we talk about what's potentially bothering them, what could be better, what, or maybe sometimes we just have a chat in general. Like if everything's going fine, the project is fine, then we talk as normal human beings do. It's kind of a little bit relaxing, and that's the way we do it. So yeah, yeah, as I said, like follow-up calls on certain projects. I handle currently 3 projects in parallel, so you always have something that you need to discuss with people. Maybe try to put a little bit more focus on certain aspects, because when you have a deadline, people maybe drift a bit. So you need to be there to steer the ship a bit. Okay, please. Yeah, okay, I know that. For example, I know that there's I don't know, 3 possible ways to do this, but let's take this more simpler approach, because we have a deadline, and then we will open an issue or whatever and solve it once we have more time later on. So that's maybe just one example where you can like gently nudge, let's say. Let's call it gently nudging people into a certain direction. um, uh, so what's, as you already mentioned before, blockchain is a crazy space. Everything is, a lot of things are going on in parallel. So in my case, I check a lot of communication channels: Discord, Slack, Telegram, Twitter. There's a bunch of things that you need to be aware of what's happening. Trying to see potential opportunities. You never know what tomorrow brings. As you also mentioned, in blockchain, things can change. The narrative can shift in maybe even tomorrow. Like there will be some new crazy primitive, and everybody will want to jump on the boat to make the next, I don't know, millions of dollars, and you need to be on top of that game as well. So yeah, that's exploration, maybe, trying to be on top of the new cool thing. I mean, that obviously can come with noise. You need to be able to at least try to get the signal out of all the noise. That's not easy, but I guess, yeah, somebody has to try to do it. um, yeah, what else? Like, we have meetings with various partners and stakeholders. In our case, it's Starkware and Starknet Foundation. Those are our partners that we collaborate with and have a really good and pleasant collaboration. So yeah, shout out to Starkware and Starknet Foundation. Yeah, and after that you have like various, all of our projects are open source on GitHub. People can take a look, and I go through these issues. A lot of the times, some random people open issues. We always check what's going on, and um, you know even if they do a PR, or they ask if they can do some work themselves. And that's when I maybe, take get the contact of the person, connect with him on Telegram, for example, and try to explain him some things, how it's going, and try to help that person to successfully contribute to our projects. So that's something that I do very, very often, and it's very cool. I really like that in the blockchain space and in open source space in general, so that you never know when somebody will really help you with some maybe even crucial feature that you maybe even don't have time, um, or something that's nice to have, you don't have time to do it, and then some random person jumps in and makes a pull request, and everybody's happy. you know
Do you find
so
that
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
there's a bit of an added? Do you find sometimes there's a bit of an added pressure uh, because everything is open source and everyone can go and
Mm,
have a look?
yes, in the beginning, definitely.
Okay.
I was like, everything is public, everything is like everything, everyone can see you. It was kind of strange. It was different than before when I was working in a corporation. But you get used to it, to be honest. You get more relaxed, and if you like really, you care about things, and it becomes second nature, I guess. Writing messages and all of that, it's it becomes normal. Yeah, so that's maybe something. Maybe people who are not used to it in the beginning, you'll for sure get used to it with time. So yeah.
That's cool.
uh,
That's cool.
uh yeah, what else? Like, basically planning. Of course, like, you do planning of next steps, and prioritizing issues and tasks, and uh, I sometimes even write blog posts when I have a little bit more time, when the pressure is a little bit lower. And um yeah, that's I think that those are the most important. It I mean, code reviews, I don't know if I mentioned, but code reviews are something that's big on my part. At least try to handle all of these external contributors, and my own my own colleagues, try to help them on that front as well. I code I didn't code for quite some time now, to be honest. But maybe documentation and things like that, you go through some things, and you notice maybe some issues, or something is not explained that well, and there's always work on documentation. And yeah, that's a huge, everything can be better explained, or I don't know. You can always make some guides, examples. In Web3 and blockchain, it's always something that's appreciated to do, to
Definitely.
make it easier for the newcomers. That's something that I try to do as well.
That's cool.
Uh,
Does ChatGPT not do that for you yet?
yeah, we we had a lot of PRs on one of our projects, Starknet.js. But and they are GPT generated, but once you dig a little bit under the surface, you see that it's nicely formatted garbage, unfortunately. So yeah, it kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a complete waste of time, but still, it's not very good. And I think it's useful for nice formatting and giving you some, things that then somebody who knows what he needs to do can input like correct information in
Yeah,
in,
fair
in
enough.
that documentation. At least for at least that's at least my experience with Starknet.js. Maybe for some better known libraries, maybe it could be better. But in our case, it's still a small, I guess, community. Maybe they didn't still catch up with what's going on here.
I'm sure
Yeah,
they will at some point. At
yeah,
some
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you have a favorite part of the role of your job?
Um, well, what gives me personally most pleasure is that when you see that you made some bet that paid off after some time. For example, one of the key things I did early on when I joined the company was convincing a couple of friends to join as well. And then you were like, it was a bet, bet. The blockchain space itself is tricky. It's volatile, and we all said like, yeah, okay, we are betting on ourselves and on everything all together. And after some months or years, when you see it really pays off, then that's something that I think that's the most pleasant feeling, uh, to be honest. Yeah.
That's nice.
So yeah, like I can maybe touch upon that, expand really. Like the manager is nothing without his people, and especially if you have good people, it makes your life so much easier. If you have responsible people that you don't need to micromanage, I don't recommend micromanaging. Maybe sometimes you need to do it if your people are not maybe that experienced, but when you have good people that you can like tell, that you can like agree together what needs to be done, and then you can basically have peace in your mind that that person will understands it and will do it. That makes your life so much easier. And that's also advice for anybody basically. If you are like an individual contributor, try to take off the plate of your manager. Try to take stuff off from his plate, and for him not to worry about it. That will boost your career so much. And because everybody can, everybody needs, some stuff taking out of their plate, and will be so grateful, and that will be like, for you it will be a huge boost down the road. So yeah, I maybe a little bit digression, but yeah, that's something that I
No, that's
wanted
really
to
good.
say.
I think that's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah,
To be
yeah,
honest, you make yourself indispensable, right? And then if your manager can really trust that they can give you the work to crack on and do, and you're making their life easier, then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're going to be top of mind.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And like really, like for example, hiring. Yeah, that's something that I didn't mention before. Like you also do interviews with potential candidates, and hiring. That's a big and important thing. But you never know. It's not easy to recognize if somebody will really be responsible, and does he really know what he's saying, or is he lying? Is he whatever? So uh, if you really like, if you're that kind of person that's responsible and helping, you know it spreads, and you make everybody's life easier, and maybe potentially try to identify that people through hiring. That's a gold mine.
Yeah, that's easier said than done when it
Yeah,
comes to
yeah.
hiring.
Yes, 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 yes. No, I think nobody has quite figured it out, I guess. That's why I think recommendations work the best, I guess. If you know, and that's actually, yeah, now that I mention it, to be very honest, I got most of my jobs through recommendation. I mean, industry was in a big climb the last years. Maybe now it's a bit going a little bit stagnation, but I didn't do some crazy interview for, I don't know, years and years. It was mostly through recommendation, and then obviously you have to perform once you're in the job, but yeah, those recommendations from previous jobs were massive, massive.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, you're completely right. I think LinkedIn released some stats last year that said that everyone who moved on the platform, no, sorry, 80% of people that moved jobs on the LinkedIn platform moved through a trusted source or recommendation, referral, ex-colleague, something like that, which is some crazy stats considering there's something like a billion people on LinkedIn now or something crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, but
Um,
I think it makes sense because even considering if I were to go to a new company, I also have fears and doubts. And if I have some friend who is already there, he can explain to me very personally, like how he can tell me the real story, what's going on, and yeah, I think it works both ways, for the candidate and also the people who hire. They get a little bit a little bit better and more human story from both sides, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think most of probably the last 60, 70% of roles that I've placed over the last 12 months have been through referrals or recommendations from people that I know and trust who said, look,
Hmm.
this person is looking for a job. Can you find them anything? And you end up placing them, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
such a powerful thing, when you
yeah,
can really
yeah.
when you can trust that person and you know they're good, like good people know good people is a saying I quite like. So um, yeah, no, completely
Well,
agree.
like if I can break the fourth wall, I guess, and see what you are personally doing, I think you're doing a really awesome job. Like you are really building personal connection with at least how long we know each other, like maybe even 2 years now. It's like
Yeah,
it's like I don't see you anymore like some random guy. It's like, and I think it goes a
thanks.
long way. And that's something that's really valuable, and you are doing a really different and awesome job when compared maybe to some, maybe even 99% of recruiters, I guess, in the space. So in all tech IT space, not in Web3. So yeah, really kudos to you, Jack.
Thanks. Thanks. I don't know what to say. Thank you very much. Well, yeah, I think, yeah, I guess I'm on a bit of a mission to try and modernize the recruitment industry.
Yeah,
Try and get rid of a lot of bad practices and yeah, try and rebuild trust with recruiters because I don't think people have that much trust in recruitment anymore.
yeah,
Um,
appreciate it.
thanks, thanks. Well, I know obviously even at the start you briefly introduced us to Space Shard. Could you just give us a little bit more kind of in detail view of what it is that you guys do, maybe some of
Mhm.
the types of things that you guys build and what you're up to?
Yeah, so yeah, originally our founder, he Eddie, he worked for the Ethereum Foundation like 2017, something like that, maybe a little bit earlier. And he at one point he decided to open his own thing, and that's how Shard Labs started around 2020, if I'm not wrong. And I mean, Eddie was already well, connected with in the blockchain space, and he was. He was always flying to some conferences and very active in the community, and they worked with Polygon, near Ethereum Foundation, obviously, and at some point Lido as well. Yeah, Lido. They built actually Lido on Polygon, the liquid staking of the Matic token on Polygon. And at a certain point, they got into contact with the company Starkware, and they said, okay, it was pretty new. It was they didn't even have wallets at that time or anything. It was just like, yeah, let's try it and build something cool. And that's how Shard Labs came into partnership with Starkware. At at one point, I'm not sure now which exact date was it, but yeah, I came in this phase when maybe a couple of months after the partnership with Starkware was official. I came into the story maybe a couple of months after that and took over basically leading the team of that's building all of these. In my case, developer tools and tooling for developers and some other products like DeFi pooling on top of Starknet, the layer two on Ethereum. So yeah, at that point they decided to be maybe good to separate, let's say, Space Shard will be completely focused on Starknet, will have nothing to do with any other blockchain or whatever. So yeah, that's the story of how, let's say, Space Shard sharded from Shard Labs. There's this sharding in blockchain, the term. So that's what we basically did in our case. And yeah, it's going now. It's yeah, partnership is flourishing now in the third year, I think. Yeah, so it's going pretty well.
That's cool. So you guys develop tools that help developers build better things on Starknet. Is that the
Yes, yes, yes,
yeah?
yes. So yeah, obviously Ethereum itself has the best tooling in on every blockchain, which makes sense because it's the first one, and most developers work there, and there's most of the money is there. But Starknet, they decided, Starkware and Starknet, they decided to take a little bit different path because they valued performance. So they didn't go the classic EVM route. So they baked in, for example, account abstraction is baked into the protocol, and you have all of these. Now wallets are a little bit different than maybe people are used to on Ethereum. It gives you better user experience for sure, but it's a little bit trickier to come to onboard on Starknet itself. And you have this new programming language called Cairo, which is very efficient to build dApps on top of Starknet, but it's a learning experience. So our mission is to make that developer experience better, and we have built a couple of tools. For example, a local DevNet, which is very similar to Anvil, that exists on Ethereum. It's called Starknet DevNet RS. RS meaning Rust. It's written in Rust. So yeah, it's a local blockchain for testing. The other is we built a plugin for Hardhat. Hardhat is a popular SDK for writing tests and basically trying out your dApp protocol before you ship it on the mainnet. And the biggest one probably would be Starknet.js. So it's a JavaScript client for connecting your dApp to Starknet itself. So yeah, we are maintaining those three libraries. We are building one more cool tool that I will not reveal at this point, unfortunately. But we are keeping this for the Starknet CC now. In 2 weeks, it will be in Brussels. There will be ETHCC conference and Starknet CC, and our plan is to reveal it on stage, like what will be cooking the last couple of months.
Nice.
So yeah, but yeah, the whole goal is to improve the developer experience on Starknet. In our case,
That sounds cool. And what's Cairo based on? Is it similar
it's
to any other languages at all?
yeah. Originally, it was more similar to assembly, I would say, but now it's like assembly is like an old machine language before C. But now it was like a mix of assembly and Python, but now it's more similar to Rust. So if somebody knows Rust, it won't be that hard to jump over to Cairo.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
And
yeah.
are you seeing the developer ecosystem growing quite a lot in?
Yeah, for sure. Because we have, I mean, they are investing a lot in this regard, and there's a project or a company called Only Dust, which is a very cool initiative. They offer rewards in terms of, in this case, Starknet tokens. Before it was USDC, now it's Starknet tokens for developers who want to contribute. So that's also some very very cool thing. Like you can, if you're not sure about the ecosystem, whatever, you can come to the projects. You can see what issues are up for grabs. You can try to solve it, and you will earn money at the end of the road. So it's a very very cool way to onboard developers. And some of them, I mean, a lot of them actually came and joined the ecosystem full time after, and through Only Dust. So yeah, I encourage everybody who is interested to take a look at Only Dust and see. For example, we on Starknet.js and DevNet, we have a bunch of open issues that are waiting for new contributors, and you will get paid for them as well.
Oh, cool. It's like a lot of open, like bounty type stuff
Yeah,
for
yeah,
people to
yeah.
take a look at. Yeah,
Bounty type stuff. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
no, that sounds cool. Why did you initially take an interest in like Web3 and blockchain in the first place?
Yeah. So actually, it was a bit of a coincidence. Around 2016, a mutual friend introduced me to a guy who was building a cryptocurrency exchange in Croatia. And it was a crazy story. Like this guy he has a shop with sunglasses, but in his free time he was trading crypto, and he was a trader on stock exchange trader and stuff like that. And he really wanted to and he actually built a small cryptocurrency exchange from ground up. It's called Bitcoin. It's still alive, but now it's completely different. So the guy, he needed some new features, and that's how he introduced me, and it was like a side gig to help him build some couple of stuff on that trading platform. And that was my first, let's say, exposure to blockchain and cryptocurrency. And then I got hooked and started trading as everybody else, and earning money, losing money, the whole 2017 bull run, and you were on the top of the world. Then a couple of months later you had like, I don't know, 99% less than you had before that. But yeah, it was crazy ride, but I learned really a lot, really a lot. And that's how it started basically.
That's cool. And then you went from there, and then did you then start doing some more things in your spare time? Like when did you decide, you know what, I want to make the leap full time into
um
Web3?
well full like I had like this transitioning period where I continued working on this exchange, doing stuff for them. But then like a little bit more than 2 years ago, I went full time. Like, yeah, early 2022 I made a full time switch to Web3.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you notice much difference between working in Web3 compared to your time in Web2?
Yeah, of course, because um we mentioned a couple of times until now, it's everything's changing very fast. There's a lot of things missing, which is a minus and a plus. Depends on how you look at it. It's a minus because it's harder to get into it, but it's a plus because it's a huge opportunity. You can see things that are missing and build them yourselves, and you can gain reputation and gain, exposure and fame, let's say, in the space. So that's why it's kind of it depends on what kind of person you are. If you see these let's say roadblocks as an opportunity, you can really massively, it can be an upside for you down the road. So, and I think it's still the case. You're still a long way to go to become like a boring industry, let's say Web 2, maybe most of Web 2, I guess. It will for sure come at some point, but I think we are not there yet. So let's enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, I agree
um,
for
yeah, so
sure.
I think that's one of the key things that I wanted to point out. Like, there's a lot of things missing, and it's a big opportunity. So for example, compare it, if you want to break into the React, you want to become like a, I don't know, React native influencer in Web 2. Like, there's millions of people doing that. You need to be really, I don't know, really special to maybe get or build some crazy new library that everybody will use, and you'll become famous. But I think in Web3 it's a lot easier.
Mm, for sure, for sure. And did you notice any difference in the way in your style of management, or how you like manage projects, that kind of thing? Or is, building software and managing engineers, is that the same in Web2 and Web3?
I think, yeah, I think most of it is the same. It's in the end of the day, it's only technology. It's a different technology, but it's technology, and a lot of principles that are well known in IT in general are you can see them in Web3 as well. Like, some of the, let's say, breakthroughs that are happening are, let's say, some concepts that are known for a long time in classical Web 2 space. So maybe that's also something that's still kind of um, good. I don't know how to say it, because if, for example, if you're an experienced Web 2 engineer, I think it would be a little bit better to then jump into Web 3 than to be like just Web 3, just going deep dive from the beginning. I think it's still, it's more, you'll gain more maybe general knowledge, and then you can see the patterns and then apply them and fix stuff on Web3. um, of course, it maybe it's not applicable to every scenario, but I think in average, I think it's a little bit better to go that path.
Okay,
um,
interesting. Yeah, you're not the first person that I've spoke to that believes that as well.
Hmm.
Um, to get a real good grounding and understanding of how to build good technology and how
Yeah.
teams are ran in Web 2, and then trying to then bring some of that across into Web 3. Um,
Yeah. It's very important to know the domain. Like you need to know the domain of any business. Like if you are developing software for betting, you need to know that domain. You need to know if or medicine or I don't know. You need to, and that's blockchain. Blockchain is just another domain. It has these certain laws and how it operates. Once you learn it, you abide to those laws and try to build on top of that. Try to improve it. So yeah, but down the road, it's just tech with some limitations, but yeah,
do you
we're
think
trying to get over it.
blockchain will ever just kind of morph into the other industries? So obviously at the moment, Web3 is seen as its own industry, blockchain is seen as its own industry. But at
Huh.
some point, there will be companies in, let's say, traditional Web 2 in retail or finance or uh, reg tech or insure tech, insurance, like whatever it might be, that will
Mhm.
start to use blockchain. And then at that point, do you think it will not be its own industry? It will just be a technology that's used in the
Well,
world.
I think that's what everybody who is really building in blockchain, who is not here just for doing meme coins and stuff like that, maybe get quick rich schemes. I think everybody would really love that for it to become like, let's say, invisible, invisible to the end user, and just to morph into everything. I think that would be the end goal. It's tech. It's here. It has its advantages, maybe some shortcomings, but yeah, like I think it shouldn't be seen as a some separate world. I mean, currently it is because it has its own culture and way of speaking and everything. But it's fun. In my opinion, it's fun, and it's kind of gives you a little bit some sense of community and everything. And yeah, I think it's very nice. But down the road, I believe it will morph, as you said, and it should become invisible. Like if you, I mean, if in 10 years from now people still need to download MetaMask and install it and yeah, hold their private keys somewhere, and I don't know, I think it will be a bit. I don't think it will ever reach like billions of users that way.
No, I think there'll be maybe different levels of security. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah, for
you'll
sure.
always have there'll always be the people who want to hold on to their keys and everything, like want to write them down and put half of them in one safe in the house or
Yeah,
part of them buried under the back garden or wherever you keep your
yeah,
keys.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then I'm sure there will be other people who want to get involved that aren't really that too concerned about the security aspects of it, but just want to get involved. I think there'll probably
yeah,
be
yeah.
a
Spectrum.
variety of
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
spectrum of
yeah.
things.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. I mean, it's happening already. It's happening already. So,
yeah,
but yeah, we still have a lot to do on that front. User experience for sure.
definitely. If someone is stepping into the Web3 space for the first time, they want to build a career in the industry. Is there anything you'd really like people to know or really like people to understand before they become a part of it, before they join the space?
Uh, well, I would maybe focus on the personal aspect. So I would love for everybody to be enthusiastic and be open-minded and really see, not to get frustrated with the things that are missing, because as you already mentioned, there's a lot of things missing, but try to really see that as an opportunity to help help the community, help everybody. We're all in this together, and if you do you do a couple of PRs into a couple of libraries that are trying to solve some stuff, you will be happier, the maintainers will be happier, and it's kind of really rewarding. In the sense of, I mentioned only thus you can even earn money that way. And yeah, I think that would be something like, don't be toxic, don't expect that everything is solved, because it's not. Go into this space with an open mind, open eyes, and try to help everybody, and in the end they will help you. I've seen it more than once. People had like, they came into this space and they had a meteoric rise, really meteoric rise, in all aspects, experience, money, whatever. Like, it's really rewarding if you come into this space with the right mindset, because there's still not that much, I think, people in blockchain compared to regular IT world. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Ivan, to finish up, there's a question that I like to ask everyone.
Mhm.
Knowing what you know now about engineering, about technology, leadership, blockchain, Web3, what advice, if you could go back to the start of your career, what advice could you share with your younger self?
Mhm. Well, I I think one advice for sure would be to not being afraid of following that some gut feeling. I think, because I had some situations when I was a bit younger that I had this gut feeling that I wanted something, but then people would try to maybe tell me that's not right, or don't do that, or whatever. And I was a bit maybe stressed at some situations because of that. And now when I see it, when I think back, I did some right decisions. Maybe some of them weren't right, but some of those that were right, I saw that maybe a couple of years later, I saw that they were good decisions. So I can give you a concrete example. When I was younger, I changed pretty quickly three or even four companies. I was like, I don't know, some would say job hopping, but it was like I didn't find a good place for myself where I had like a good team, um, exciting tech, and maybe a couple of those things. Or there was always something missing. I try to learn still while staying at those jobs. I try to take the best of it and learn as much as I could. But yeah, I kind of had a bit of a reputation among my friends, like, oh yeah, this guy is hopping around and he's not serious. But I really didn't find a home. And then when I finally found it, that's when I like, sometimes you don't know something until you see it, until you feel it. And when I found a home for the first time, I was like, yeah, this is it. And then I was at that place for more than 4 years in one company. So it wasn't just, it wasn't just me. It was just like, trying to find somewhere where you will really have the opportunity to shine and show yourself and flourish. So yeah, that would be something for sure that I would give advice to my younger self, like, don't be afraid, don't be afraid of following that gut feeling. It will, if you're positive, if you're not toxic, you are not the guy. You need to be introspective, and you need to be, you know sure that you are not the guy who is, carrying his problems baggage everywhere. You have to eliminate that. And after that, you try to find somewhere where you'll be happy. And yeah, don't be afraid to try and find that place.
That's great.
Yeah, I hope it
I
makes
like that.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. That's yeah, that's some really good advice. Well, Even, thank you very, very much for taking the time to have a conversation today. You shared some brilliant tips and
Thanks,
some
Jack.
great advice. Yeah, it was really, yeah, really cool to listen to your journey and obviously what you guys are up to um, at the moment and what you're building. If anyone's listening has any extra questions or they think as we said about like mentors and things, if anyone is thinking, you know what, I'd love to reach out and ask you some questions about or advice about their career or your journey or more about what it is that you guys are building, maybe they want to be part of the ecosystem. Are people able to reach out to you on Twitter or X or
Yes,
LinkedIn,
yes,
anything
yes.
like that?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Twitter. Yeah, for sure. You can share. I can share my contacts wherever. Maybe I don't know how usually you do it, but I'm. I'll maybe write it down here. This is my handle. This is my handle on Twitter and GitHub. So yeah, people can reach out to me. And my name is on LinkedIn. Is just my name. So yeah.
Great stuff. Well, yeah, I'll tag that in the comments and in the description, so that yeah,
Yeah.
anyone listening and watching can go on and yeah, track you down on
Yeah.
online.
Yeah, of course, of course, of
But
course. Feel free to connect wherever, and yeah, hope to see you. Hope to see you in the Starknet ecosystem.